Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. As some of the best super speedway racers in all of iRacing look to race for straight cash money. It's race number one of the new campaign, and it's all set to go here on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me in the booth today is Greg Rentz with BJ Taveau in the director's seat for what's expected to be an interesting race today. These competitors will be racing for cash for the next few weeks. Top 5 in each race get a payout, as well as the top 5 in the overall point standings throughout this campaign. But there's some big names looking to try and find their way into victory lane, including drivers such as Garrett Maines for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and several more such as Pete Polini from the short track side of things, all amongst the favorites for today's race, Greg.
Justin, Garrett Maines is no stranger to LSRTV, as well Pete Polini, and we've got a couple other drivers from the super late model scene here on LSRTV over the course of the summer and fall that you might recognize here if you've been watching us on LSRTV. You mentioned Pete Polini, Nicholas Sacco, Andrew Navarro, Kieran Church, all in the field tonight. Plus, they're matching up with the regulars of the Straight Cash Racing Series. Got drivers like the driver who's on top of the board right now, Bradley Wilson, John Kinder. Fastest in practice was Zach Adams in the number 71. However, this is Talladega. You got to draft your way around to get those lap times. We're seeing who's got the fastest car here, 1-on-1 right now in qualifying. Right now, 12 drivers have taken time. It's Justin Michael on top. A new series for us here on LSR-TV. Looking forward to seeing who's taking home some straight cash money.
Yes, indeed. And was talking with Garrett Maines prior to today's qualifying. He was trying various different ways to set the fastest time, currently set by Justin Michael so far in the 5:11 machine. Then Ronald White, Nicholas Sacco, Alan Dobbs, Hunter Parsons, the current top 5 on the board, 51 flats, the quickest times the second way around. Now, keep in mind for this race today, 4 tire sets total are available for this race. 50% fuel limit. There is a faster pair also available. No incident limit for these respective competitors for this race today. 80 laps the distance around Talladega Super Speedway, and it's not easy to run 80 laps at Talladega. It's even more difficult to plan things out strategy-wise when you have 50% fuel. It could be one where pit stops could be critical, Greg, as a result.
And we've seen that before here on LSR-TV, a Talladega race coming down to fuel mileage, and it makes it very interesting and adds an extra layer on top of Talladega already. It's Talladega. You know what to expect from Talladega, and you know exactly that you can't expect anything. But with this, with that fuel mileage situation added in, that adds another layer onto it. Again, you mentioned 3 sets of tires in the pits to go along with the set that they will start the race on. So you know you're going to see some pit stops here today. The question is, what will drivers do to try to stretch the fuel mileage? They only have half a tank available to them for each round of pit stops. What are they going to do? Are they all going to be on the same strategy, or will we see some drivers try some different stuff moving forward? I'm looking forward to this one because that 50% fuel tank really adds another layer to it.
Tons of layers upon layers upon layers throughout this 10-minute 2-car or 2-lap solo qualifying session. That was J.R. Miller you're currently following along with right now, setting his first lap time, a 51.6. Right now, 33 drivers have made their way to Talladega Super Speedway for today with varying different levels of experience in organizations. Some of them, as mentioned, at the highest levels of all of iRacing. Some of them competing in some of the top short track events in recent lately times. And others looking to have fun today because a lot of people really enjoy racing at the super speedways and racing against other people at a track such as this.
Yeah, a lot of people come out to the plate tracks, Talladega and Daytona, and these kinds of races have a tendency to create a surprise winner. The LSR-TV viewers who have been following us for a while, they'll know the name Andrew Navarro, Nicholas Sacco, Kieran Church, and Garrett Maines. They know those names, and they know they can be expecting to run up front every single. However, there are so many different new players in this race here today that we've never seen. We don't know what's going to happen in this one, and to throw Talladega on top of all that, this is going to be a very exciting race to see what unfolds here today. I'm expecting to see some late race heroics from someone to try to get this win.
Like, take a look at one of the regulars. This is Clint Mata, who's currently qualifying right now on his second lap. Race meeting is underway as some of these drivers are making their way around the racetrack. And here is what has just been confirmed to the drivers, Greg. A $150 total payout is available for today's race. $50 will be going to the race winner, $40 to second, $30 to third, $20 to fourth, $10 rounding out the top five is what we are hearing on race control at the moment. Again, that is the totals currently being reported to drivers right now in the drivers meeting. So that adds a little bit of a more incentive for that, because there's a lot you can do with that amount of total for a race such as this. Everyone's going also through the race meeting rules. All of them essentially are similar to what you would see in real life, Greg, where you can't run underneath the yellow line, you can't intentionally wreck anyone, anything like that. You need to race clean and respectively for a series like this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and we knew there was going to be a payout here for this one, but $50 confirmed to the race winner tonight. That is going to really spice things up, because you've got drivers looking for a clean, crisp $50 bill now, along with a win at Talladega. So that just adds another layer. We talked about layers a moment ago. $50 to the winner, $40 to second, $30 to third. You got guys who are going to be hunting for a podium to try to get yourself a top five position. Again, like you said, payouts to the top five in $10 increments. So no doubt you're going to have drivers going for it all out. And here's the thing, Justin, Talladega, you already see different strategies. You have drivers who like to do what I call the run and gun. They try to get up front and stay up front, stay in front of the trouble. You have the drivers who hang back. They hang back near the tail of the field. And if there's a problem, they have enough time to check up and avoid it and then go for it at the end. Add the fuel mileage game on top of that and a cash prize. This has all the ingredients for a wild, wild race that we're going to have fun here on LSRTV.
By the way, for those wondering, there is the $5 entry for each race that helps with those totals. Right now, in total, 23 cars have put in qualifying times. The slowest time currently for Brian Jablonski, who is currently with a 1 minute lap time to be at the back of the field. You're following along with the 999. This is Jeff Snyder in the anchor bar machine. The funny thing is, he's actually driving with Brian's paint scheme on the car. If you look above the door, there is Brian Jablonski's paint scheme. So, the friends here running similar paint schemes, different manufacturers, but both representing the same person, but with different names essentially. For Jeff, though, looking like he wants to put in a good time. Brian wanting to start at the back of the field for the comparison's sake for the 999 from 21st on lap 1 to a very high second lap, only a 51.1 to get to 20th. Of course, with qualifying, you need to stick around the bottom, and some of these drivers doing exactly that, while others getting practice as the splitters digging for the 7.
Yeah, I was watching the 7, Justin, on his qualifying lap. He's still out there just turning some practice laps right now, but he was maybe 3/4 throttle around on the qualifying lap. That is definitely a guy who wants to start at the back and try to stay out of trouble. The problem is, of the 33 drivers that have entered today's race, only 23 have qualified. So if that is the case, you saw it on the ticker right there, all those drivers that did not have a qualifying time behind him there. As qualifying has concluded, we're getting set to go racing. The drivers are gridded up. So Brian Jablonski was looking for a start at the tail end of the field, but he still has 10 drivers behind him as we get set for the start of this 80-lap race.
Justin Michael will start on the pole today to begin a brand new season for Straight Cash Money, followed by Garrett Maines, who will start on the outside front row from Elliott Sauer Esports and one of the Richmond Raceway Esports development drivers. Chris Stevens starts in row 2 alongside Ronald White, with Nicholas Sacco in 5th. Andrew Navarro coming off an appearance in the Blue Emu short track shootout just a few days ago, starts in 6th, while Alan Dobbs will start in 7th. Hunter Parsons starts in 8th, with Brian Twinem in 9th. J.R. Miller rounds out your top 10 separation, just 6/100ths of a second, Greg.
You're going to find Justin Winters in 11th. He falls right into that 15-0 bracket as well, with Ed Osborne in the number 11, who starts in 12th position. 13th is going to go to Bradley Wilson. We talked about him in this one. The top 13 drivers all within a 10th of each other on the qualifying mark, with John Kinder starting 14th. John Ernest, another John, will roll off in 15th with Clint Mata in the number 82, rolling off 16th. He was having some mic issues earlier today, communicating with his team and the drivers around him. So he was working on a couple of other backup plans just in case that happens. So keep that in mind. Clint Mata, no communication with the rest of the drivers. Gary Jureski in the number 18. I apologize if I butchered that one. Here in the number 18, he'll roll off in 17th with Joseph Allen in 18th. Rounding out the top 20 are Darren Hallman, and you talked about Jeff Snyder. He rolls off 20th.
21st spot goes to John Elliott in the number 4 machine, while Kieran Church will start 22nd. The last driver to set a time, electing to start at the back of the qualifiers, is Giant Brian Jablonski, as mentioned. Christian Sanford, the first of the drivers not to qualify, with Pete Polini in 25th position. Zach Evans will start in 26th. Michael Adamson elected to start at the very tail end of the field. He'll be scored 33rd. It's not on the racetrack. That moves Michael Anthony up to 27th on the pylon. Brian Chu will start 28th as a result. Taylor Peacock, Rob Green, Stephen Gregory, and Kevin Hellman round out your entrants for today's race as we get ready to go racing the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. Now, let's talk about the quickness of the weather here today and the quickness of the time. It's 2 times sun movement today. In sim time, just past 7 a.m. on May 15, 2020, iRacing Day. All the races throughout this series are going to be essentially on super speedways, including at one point the iRacing Super Speedway. So it's going to be an interesting series to see which drivers come on top throughout this campaign.
Justin, I am looking very, very much forward to that race at the new iRacing Super Speedway. The last broadcast that we did on LSRTV before the holiday break was there at the iRacing Super Speedway with 4 different open wheel cars. What a blast that was. And I've gone there several times as a driver since that over the course of the breaks. I am looking very, very forward to seeing what the Cup cars have to offer on that 3-mile super speedway.
Some of the air tracks this series plans to appear and include Daytona, Michigan, among the air competitors' scheduled tracks throughout the preparation for this series. But your expectations and keys to victory today for a race such as this?
For me, I'm going to like the hang out in the back strategy. I want to see guys hanging out in the back, being patient for the opening portion of this race, and then go for it maybe around lap 50, about 30 to go. It's Talladega. It's not going to take you 30 laps to get from the front to the back. You can do it in 5 if you know what you're doing. So I think the key to victory here is going to be patience. You got to take that fuel mileage into consideration. I think you're going to see a strategy race here today. Question is, who's on the right strategy?
A lot of pit stops going to be happening today as the iRacing pace car is off. Drivers all set to go. It's Justin Michael, Garrett Maines in the front row, all set to get things rolling in their Toyota Camrys. Green flag is up on the stand. We're underway for straight cash money. And a poor launch for Justin Michael to start, already losing the lead to Garrett Maines. Several cars dropping to the outside line, trying to get to the very back of the field already.
Wonder if that was planned, Justin, because Justin Michael just did not go on that one, letting his fellow Toyota driver Garrett Maines get around him, as we see one driver already saying, nope, I'm falling to the back. That's going to be Alan Dobbs in the number 3. He is going below the apron. He's going to fall in line right here in the middle of the pack. So we're already seeing drivers begin to make their way towards the back, but it looks like our drivers here up front with Maines, Stevens, Michael, White and company, they have set their cars onto let's go out and try to win this race here early.
As a result of all those drivers, the lead pack has already shrunk down to just about 13 cars or so, give or take. The rest of the pack has already dropped back by a full second or so. Now, keep in mind, Stephen Gregory, Michael Adams did not make it to the green flag for this one. 31 drivers made to the end of the first lap. Rest of the pack now trying to form up. Now, one of the bright sides, though, when it comes to these cars, is you can draft your way back up with some help to the lead pack. You can also tandem draft your way up for several positions, like we're seeing with those 2 cars on the outside line, the back end of the tail group, of the lead group.
That's Hunter Parsons in the orange for the 00 car. Trying to figure out who that is on the outside with the 27 of Ronald White. Those are the drivers They're trying to make their way up the outside right now, and they might get a little bit of help from another car behind them here. That outside lane really seems to be the preferred line for passing here at Talladega if you get into a small pack like that. But if you get into the big lines, then you want to stay on the bottom. Once that outside lane starts picking up a few more cars, you're going to see it stall out as Maines led the lap, but Parsons is right there in the 00 car trying to get a run from the 27 of White. There is a third car in line behind him trying to pull up on them, get a run.
That's Navarro. That's Andrew Navarro in the 7Cs Corporate Cruises and Events car that's moving up on that outside line. Once again, it's the Federated Auto Parts Racing machine of Ronald White working with the Hobbytown machine of Hunter Parsons on that line. Rest of the drivers electing to stay at the yellow line, and keep in mind, with the shorter fuel, we're expecting pit stops around up to lap 20-ish for a track such as Talladega, Greg. Normally, you'd be seeing for a race like this 2 pit stops divided up around 33, maybe 66, or try and go 40. But instead, they're going to go 3 wide. Parsons for the race lead. Maines ditched on the bottom. He's forced into the sucker hole as Parsons to the point.
He's going to have an opportunity to get up on the outside lane here behind Navarro, and he's going to do just that. And actually, with Parsons and White going down to the bottom, now that's a 2-car tandem, Navarro and Maines. Again, fans of LSRTV, they've heard those names several times in the past, and Maines and Navarro are going to hook up here once again to try to go. We've seen these cats do battle several times in the short track side here on LSRTV. Is now the 87 of Michael going to try to squeeze up in the middle of them, and I believe that's the 29 of Sacco as well trying to get in line right now. So now all of a sudden the top lane has more cars. It's 4-3, as I believe that's JR Miller trying to close in on the back bumper there of the inside line, and he is going to do just that as he gets the sniff of the draft. And all of a sudden we had a 12-car breakaway at the front, but now as they got to slicing and dicing up front, now a second pack is caught back up once again.
Yep, just like that, the pace dropped off about 0.3 of a second to allow everyone back into lineup for their personal best times just about in this race. Still side by side for the race lead is Justin Michael to the point. And this could happen and is expected to happen several times throughout the race today. Quick bursts and drivers wanting to take the lead and be the driver who controls the momentum of the pack. Keep in mind, though, you leave the pack too long, it burns a ton of fuel, and that could be critical for a race like this today, as Maines is now leading that top line.
Yeah, that's why you're going to see drivers go up, lead a couple laps, and then they're going to swap out. They don't want to be up front, per se. They want to be near the front, but they don't want to be leading the pack because, like you mentioned, they're going to burn fuel. Remember, only 50% fuel capacity for these cars here today. They can only take half a tank of fuel. So these guys got to save fuel as much as they can because they're already thrown off on that. They got to pit earlier for fuel anyway. If you're leading up front like Maines and Michael are doing right now in their respective lines, they're burning up that much more fuel. As Sacco and company behind them on the outside line, Navarro on the inside tucked right up on the back bumper of Michael in the turn number 1. They're going to be able to save fuel because of that draft, and they're going to be able to maybe stretch it an extra lap if they're not careful, talking about Maines and Michael.
Possibly here. The West Virginia-based driver in Michael still wanting that bottom line. Navarro trying to really use a lot of the pushes. Keep in mind, these drivers with these setups can use a fair amount of pushing time, so to speak. You have to also manage the temperatures, though, because with these types of cars, you can pop the motor. There's been so many cases where around lap 20 in a big pack such as this, someone tries to give a push, boom, their engine pops in the middle of the group, and the big one happens as Maines takes the point.
We've seen that several times in the past at Talladega, and I've unfortunately, as a driver, been on the end of that where that happens. That is no fun when you're in a big pack and all of a sudden your engine lets go with several cars, or in my case it was trucks around me. It was not a fun experience there in that one. So I can confirm to you that can and will happen if these drivers don't take care of their equipment. I like what I'm seeing out of them so far here as we work lap 8 of 80. And remember, 80 laps, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's Talladega. A lot can happen in 80 laps. But I'm liking what I'm seeing with the patience being shown by these drivers so far. A lot of consistency with them, kind of hanging out single file, two distinct groups right now. You got the breakaway up at the front, and then for 28th or so back here, there's a small group that's trying to get themselves organized. 26th on back being led by the number 11 of Ed Osborne. I believe he's going to be number 5 on your screen.
Yes, indeed. That pack right now is at least 5 seconds back. Osborne, Zgorski, Kinder, Hellman, Michael Anthony from Balls Out Racing in regards to the alcoholic beverage. In regards to that name, by the way, and Brian Jablonski are those drivers. 3 wide for the race lead, though. Nicholas Sacco trying to hold on to the bottom. Maines trying to hold on to the middle. And Chris Stevens from Bakersfield trying to use that outside line. California Club driver not able to get a good run, though, as the dirt racer of Hunter Parsons passes by him as they go back 2 wide. And some of these cars just seem to want to go as they're already approaching halfway estimated throughout this field run. Track position is going to be critical as this race goes on and progresses, you'd have to think.
Yeah, the longer this race goes, the more you're going to want to make your way up towards the front. We talked about a little bit in the pre-race. If you're one of those guys who's in that second group trying to hang back and wait for it, we talked about, I said you would want to go around lap 50, about 30 to go. Justin, if you're a driver, when do you want to start making your move to the front if you're hanging back like that?
If it was 3 wide, I'd say immediately. But it's 2 wide for much of the field. Curious on your thoughts, because as long as Parsons doesn't have a loose moment like that and several others, I'd say 20 to go is where a lot of these drivers may go. For some, they're just trying to get towards that point without getting involved in trouble. Keep in mind that we mentioned that loose moment just now, Greg, in the tri-oval with the bumps. That can happen with the fixed setup because that's when the tires start wearing around this point, right where that car starts to dance around.
And then you got that fuel mileage game as well. We're going to start seeing pit stops here shortly. This one, as the battle continues for the lead on the outside. Maines gets a run with help from, I believe that's Parsons behind it. 00. Sacco on the inside, matched up with Justin Michael. And you talked about, you got drivers from the Virginias, West Virginia, Maines company. Then you got drivers from California. You mentioned dirt racers, and that's the great thing about, especially at Talladega, I've noticed it brings out drivers from all sorts of different backgrounds. I don't know if you got to watch that insane race we did at Talladega over the summer where we had drivers from the Northwest. We had dirt drivers, we had late model drivers, we had road course drivers just popping in to say hey and go for it. And it was a wild, wild race at Talladega. Looks like we're having another one right here.
Absolutely. Approaching lap 13, this time by 68 laps to go. Keep in mind that some of the drivers are reporting some overheating issues in the second pack we talked about already. That is now 7 to 8 seconds behind these drivers. The rest of the group, 25 cars, are separated by just 2 seconds. The top 14 covered by just a second. And some of them want to get to the front before pit stops, it looks like. We see a bit of dancing to the back grouping right there. At least 4 or 5 cars trying to shuffle about to the middle line, led by Jeff Snyder. You see that now. He's in the 999.
Hooked up, he's got 4 cars behind him. First one being Clint Mata in that Jelly Belly car. Remember, this is going to be tricky for Mata because he does not have communication with those other drivers, at least at the start of the race. We don't know if he was able to get it hooked up, but he has no communication, so he's relying purely on what those drivers around him do. He's got to pay extra close attention. He doesn't have communications with the rest of the drivers in this crew to get himself into position. He's got to just go off the feel of the car in that number 82 car.
Mata, one of the regulars, has mentioned this series has been around throughout 2020 with several different competitors taking part in some crazy finishes, whether it's been in the cup cars, the trucks, and whatnot throughout time. But now that top grouping wants to go, some of the other cars wanting to try and line up on the bottom side. And it looks like they have now had just 2 cars tandem up. The rest of the field that wanted to join with them has shuffled back to the bottom sides. The leaders still side by side, 7 cars looking to try and break away a touch. And when these cars come into pit, keep in mind, Greg, it could get crazy today.
Oh yeah, Talladega pit entry gets wild, and not just on iRacing. We've seen it in real life as well. Remember Ryan Blaney, one of his victories at Talladega. He had a spin on pit road early in the race. So just because you have an issue on pit road doesn't necessarily mean the end of your day, but it definitely makes you have your work cut out for you. Look at that group on the outside. We talked about them, Snyder and Mata. Mata able to fall in on the inside now, but they made their way up inside the top 15, and Snyder was able to crack the top 10 a moment ago, but I don't think he's going to be able to get in line now as he's going to get freight trained on the outside. But that outside group was able to get some progress up there.
Some great progress to the point where they've picked up the draft of the cars in front, and most of the cars getting to the bottom line. This is a sign that they're getting close to that fuel mark we talked about. Hunter Parsons is the first of the cars, though, that is stuck on that top line. See if J.R. Miller gives him space. Chris Stevens, not enough space, though, because Jeff Snyder still wants to gain ground. He doesn't want to go to the bottom yet.
Whoa, up in front of them, the 00 of Hunter Parsons. He wanted to get down to the bottom immediately, was able to do so, but wow. J.R. Miller had to check up in the 78 in the middle of the corner to let Parsons in. That could have been a disaster if they were a little bit off on their timing there. Ooh, up top, I believe that's the 33 of Stevens that almost got side drafted into the wall there, as you saw the 78 kind of bobble a little bit up towards the racetrack, and Parsons had to slide up towards the wall, was able to save it. But yeah, these tires are starting to go away, and the drivers having a little bit of a harder time hanging on to their cars. So I'm expecting to see pit stops here shortly as we work lap 17.
Chris Stevens still no hole. Drivers being told via race control to communicate on the pits, and they're coming this time. Hunter Parsons, Rob Green among the drivers who have indicated from the lead pack they will be coming this time by to start the pit window. Coming to lap 18, our first pit stops of the season. And we'll see how clean this entry is for these respective competitors. This could get wild. Majority of the lead pack is coming in. A couple cars at the very most might not come in. It looks like just about everybody is. Here we go.
3 cars stayed out in that first group as everybody backs it down. And Garrett Maines kind of slid his tires coming into pit road. We talked about pit entry being tricky. Luckily, most of them were able to wind it down and get going again. And fortunately for Garrett, those tires that may now have a little bit of a flat spot on them, he's getting those taken right off. First of 3 sets of tires available for him.
And based on that math, 17, 18 laps looking like that total may see drivers push it an additional lap. The drivers who did push this additional lap are Miller, Twin M, Wilson, Adams, Peacock, Ertz, Dobbs, Winters. First off the pit lane is a drag race. It's Garrett Maines and Andrew Navarro. Navarro being given control of the lead pack by Maines off the access road in the apron this time. So based on those totals, this is going to be tricky for what type of pit stop you have too, in that you have only 3 sets, right? Of half a tank is a 2-tire stop essentially on time, Greg. That could be critical for what tires people elect to take here.
Yeah.
It's
we got
contact
problems. That was the 8.
That's right, Twin M, who ended up hitting that car you see spinning around in the middle of the pit lane. Bradley Wilson. And what a time for a missed execution. On the first pit stop of the race, several of these cars going to lose a lap as a result, just about, or rather, at least lose the lead pack.
But here's the good news about that, Justin. First pit stop. They have 2 more chances to get themselves back up there. Plus, if a caution comes out, they can find themselves right back in the mix as well. But for Bradley Wilson, that's going to be a long, long day as he is still sitting on pit road. The tires have not gone up on that number 51 car. He is still just sitting there on pit road. He's rolling off now, so I think he may have tried to do some repairs to the 51 car, and I'm not sure if the tires got changed on the 51 car. We'll have to keep an eye on it, but I didn't see the tires go up on that 51 car.
At that point, I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to save that and try and get himself organized. Now keep in mind that Navarro and Maines have now pulled away by more than a second after the execution through the pit lane. Ronald White is third. Taylor Peacock, who was the first driver out from that last grouping of cars, is fourth. Justin Michael rounds out the top 5. The main pack is 3+ seconds behind the rest of these cars, as now lap traffic is ahead. Kevin Howman, Nicholas Secco and company are the ones to catch up. The reason that Nicholas Sacco is this far back. He, J.R. Miller, were both booked for speeding.
And that's a long pass-through penalty at Talladega because these drivers are going over 200 miles an hour in the draft, and you're coming down pit road at pit road speed. That is a long, long way to go. Andrew Navarro is hooked up on the back of a lap car right now, that being the number 20 of Kevin Halban right now, and that is allowing Garrett Maines to get a run on the outside for the race lead. And Navarro led the lap, but Maines is going to get the nose in front of the Smithfield Toyota. Sacco going to come up in front to try to pick up the draft. Again, these three have raced together here on LSRTV in the past. A Chevy, a Toyota, and a Ford all working together right now in the draft as Sacco tries to stay on the lead lap.
And the reason they're trying to pick these cars up is not just because of the fact there's the experience here, is they're trying to break the rest of the pack here, Greg, with what they're trying to do here. They are losing time to Peacock and company with the numbers game, with how many cars are in this group compared to the rest of the drivers. So communication is going to be critical here, as well as to save fuel and try and make it just a couple car race. That isn't likely going to happen, though, since 3/10 have been picked up since the start to end of that sentence.
Now they got to go through the lap traffic as well, talking about Peacock, Michael White and company here. They're closing in. They're about 2 seconds back now. And the good news is for Peacock and Michael, they're starting to dance again behind them. They settled things down for the time being, but that allowed them to break away and focus purely on the two of them to try to make their way up to the front to try to catch up to Maines and Navarro. By the way, Peacock has gone from 29th to 3rd in that number 81 car, so a nice job by Peacock to get himself through the field.
Absolutely. And as well as Zach Adams as well, who is on the same strategy as Peacock, gained a lot of time, and they have that extra lap. And if they can do it each time, that's going to be less time they have to spend in the pit box for the potentially final stops. Right now, looking at the calculations, if they go to 17, 18 laps again, we're talking about the third pit stop being around lap 50. And then it gets interesting for when drivers elect to go from there, because that's the 30 to go mark. Because then it's either split it up in half or try and go a little bit further and get it and group up with some specific cars.
Yeah, you got to be talking with your team, with your crew members, people who are helping you out in this race. You got to be planning that out ahead of time, especially now that things have settled down. Everyone's been on pit road. They're trying to get themselves going once again. Now you're starting to figure out, okay, when do we want to pit next? We made it 17, 18 laps that time. Do we want to do that again, or do we want to try to stretch it a little bit to see if we can get ourselves into that window where we can make it on X amount of laps? So a lot of strategy going to come into play here in this one. And while that's all going on, there's a race going on as well, as the battle for third is really beginning to heat up.
That's because Peacock is trying to hold on to his line with Parsons, but Justin Michael wants his track position back. Remember, Michael was one of the drivers who was leading early on in this race. Ronald White, among the air drivers, who was in the second row of respective cars up towards the front, trying to bump draft him and push his way past all these lap cars. And you can see how effective the tandem draft can be as long as you side draft. And that's the key thing, side draft, to try and pick up speed and try and pull the cars alongside you back. Some drivers like to leave space and not use that side draft sometimes, though.
Well, it's working for Michael because he's going to go up and get around Navarro.
Oh, trouble!
Oh, Garrett Maines and Nicholas Sacco get together, and we've got the big one.
And caution is out as Garrett Maines hooks the lap car of Sacco as he tried to come up and block the run from Justin Michael. Wow. Don't blame him for the decision. It's something a lot of drivers do at the pro level, specifically here in iRacing, but the interesting part is where Sacco tried to follow up and also come up on top when he was the lap car in that.
Sacco was trying to stay on the lead lap there, and unfortunately, Maines was already there. As we take a look at the LSRTV replay, right there, you saw Sacco come up and try to make the move, keep the leaders behind him. And I said it was the big one, but I just saw the 87 going for a slide. I'm amazed that we only saw 2 cars get involved in that one, not counting Maines.
Fast repair is available for some of these cars. That's going to really help them. But for Sacco, this is going to really hurt his chances throughout the rest of the day. He is now the last car on the lead lap outside of Joseph Allen. He's already taken responsibility on the radio as well. So likely going to have to use the fast repair there, some of those cars. And just like that, makes the strategy a little bit more interesting here as we are approaching 9 laps into the run on fuel. In other words, it could become a fuel mileage race from this point on as a result of this caution flag if we have similar stints to before.
So, Justin, here's a question for you. We have, 9 laps on the tires, but only 50% fuel. Do you think you'll see drivers come in and take a fuel-only pit stop to try to get themselves a little bit of an advantage?
I think so. Would you?
I would, and it looks like Garrett Maines is going to do that, and he might be able to get himself a fast repair if he has damage on that left front. I'm a little worried about the left front on the number 1 of Maines, and it looks like everybody's going to do that.
Look, might cosmetically Maines be okay? We'll have to see with the total time. Chris Stevens among the drivers who did not elect to pit, though, this caution. Everybody else elected to come down to the lane. Maines electing to take left side tires. Several more, potentially with the fast repair, off and away. Maines, White, first 2 off. Navarro, third. Then it's Hunter Parsons rounding up the top 4 off the pit lane. Keep Polini up to 5th. He only had a 7 to 8 second stop. Again, Chris Stevens with a head-scratching decision here not to go on the same cycle on fuel since he'd have to pit in less than 10 laps.
That's going to really change things up here. Stevens, the only driver to stay out that was on the lead lap in that number 33, the Los Angeles Kings Chevy Camaro, up in the lead right now. Remember, NHL is starting up here in 10 days' time, so he's definitely getting into the spirit of hockey coming back into the world here. Gonna try to get the Kings up front here on this restart.
Yes, indeed. I have to see how this plays out, and here's the risk. He doesn't get a caution flag quickly here. He's going to have to pit on his own. And here's the thing, too. If he elects to pit with the pit lane closed, which with the quick yellows is supposed to be this time by, that's an during the green flag penalty for him, where he'd have to serve a drive-through under green.
So maybe he's banking on cautions breeding cautions, Justin?
That's the main thing I can think about. If he doesn't elect to come in.
He doesn't come in this time because remember, it's been so long since he's been around. He still has a shot to come in. If he doesn't come down pit road, that's what I'm thinking he's banking on. And he's banking on some cautions breed cautions here for the remainder of this race. We're about 13 laps or so from halfway in this one. It's been a fun race so far, but now that we're under caution, strategy is really beginning to come into play, and it looks like Stevens is going to stay out and go take his shot here. 20 of the number 20 there of Jablonski, or no, excuse me, the Howman. Yeah, I was looking at the ticker. Jablonski is in 20th position. That's my apologies, but he's going to stay out to take the wave around. That's why he's up in front of Stevens. Another interesting call because he would be in that same boat as Stevens. He would have to come down under green. So the good news for Stevens is, hey, if he can get in touch with that 20 car, he will have a dancing partner to try to get himself back up there.
He is the wave around car, and there is a couple of drivers who elect to top off. Ryan Twin M, Michael Anthony, Brian Chu are the drivers who have elected to come down the pit lane again for additional service and top off on gas. To the calculations for drivers, if they reach lap 17 again, it is to where for the next 3 pit stops, if it goes that number, it's to lap 77. Remember that down the line if things get close, because we may see a ton of fuel saving as a result during this run.
You think you can save 4 laps worth of fuel over the course of the next 2 runs? Because that's what he's going to have to do.
I'm talking about the main pack on top of it. The whole field is going to need to save gas here, Greg. And try and stretch it for 1 or 2 of the stops.
Think you can save 4 laps worth of fuel?
It is a big track, and we've seen drivers go to 18. If they make that mark, they're safe. Or safe-ish. If they don't, then it gets really intriguing, but you never know what can happen at Dega, is to say the very least. And who's impressed you the most, I have to ask Greg, before this restart?
Honestly, right now, the two that have impressed me are 6th and 7th on the restart, Pete Pellini and Taylor Peacock. Here's why. Both of them have started outside the top 20. With a little bit of strategy, they worked their way up into the top 5, and Pete Pellini was beginning to mount a charge towards the front when the caution came out. I've been keeping my eye on that 77 car, and I've been impressed with what he's been able to do. Remember, he's a short track guy, but he always seems to impress us here on LSRTV.
And the longest line penalty given to John Kinder in the Ghostface Brewing car. So he'll have to sacrifice a top 20 starting position for this restart and start 29th. Rest of the pack all set to go. Chris Stevens elected to stay out. He and Garrett Maines bring us to the green flag. Back on our way, 52 to go from Talladega. And again, Garrett Maines with a great launch. Chris Stevens with a poor launch. Second time the driver on the bottom just didn't even get going.
We're not as surprised, though, because remember, Stevens is on the older pit strategy. Maines took left side tires, and it seems like that was the common move on the pit road to take those left side tires. So there's about 9 laps difference on the right sides to left sides on the number 1, but that 33 is on the same set of tires from before the caution. So not too surprised to see that happen this time. The question is now, what is Stevens going to do in traffic? He looks good so far. The question is, will that last?
Keep in mind that with the starts, drivers have talked about, especially this year with the V7 tire model, you can get a ton of tire spin at Talladega Super Speedway on older tires. That may have played a factor indeed, as you're trying to note there. Ronald White, though, trying to lead the outside line. Hunter Parsons joining him. Andrew Navarro also to the top line. Wow, Taylor Peacock in the straight cash money car, looking to try and bring that green and black machine to the point. He's inside row 3.
But Ronald White got a nice run with some help from Hunter Parsons. He might get his nose in front in that number 27 Toyota. He's got the nose in front going off into turn number 3. But this right here is where the inside line is able to fight back, as you're seeing right now with Garrett Maines and Chris Stevens. The corner entry is where the inside line picks it up, but down the straightaway right here, watch for the 27 to get a nice run on the outside with help. Going to be a drag race to the line. White's been threatening all day, and it looks like he's going to have a very decent shot. He is going to lead this lap in the 27.
Can he get clear is the big question. No. Garrett Maines able to hold on to the quarter panel just about as Stevens pushes him back to the point. And these runs are going to go back and forth throughout this entire series, keep in mind, where the bottom line is quicker in the corners, but the middle line on up is much quicker down the straightaways, in part because the run you can get off the banking as well, though, with some of that side force from the walls coming into factor as well for these respective competitors.
Drivers try to sort themselves out.
Trouble back in the field. Kevin Howellman off the racetrack. No caution. That was one of the drivers who was a wave around car. He made contact with Brian Chu, believe it was. Yes, indeed, it was Brian Chu that he made contact with in the 30 and came down. Had not seen him to his left side, door to door. So he comes down into green as a result with damage.
So he's going to have to pit by himself early. The guy that doesn't like hearing that is the 33 of Stevens, because that was his dancing partner when they tried to make their way back up. They were going to have to try to get on the same pit strategy on the same pit cycle now that they were. They were going to have to try to work together. He's not going to like the fact that he has lost his dancing partner. So now Stevens is going full in on the I need a caution. And boy, they're getting pretty hairy up here at the front. Inside line and outside line both do a lot of weaving around, trying to get some clean air on the nose of their cars as Maines and White continue their chess match up front. Remember, Tony Stewart always said plate racing is a game of chess, and I'm only smart enough to play checkers. And that's what we're seeing right now. It's a chess game. Drivers trying to figure out what their next move will be. And you see them trying to poke their nose out, get some clean air on the nose. And what that's doing, though, is it's causing our blood pressure to go up a little bit, because we think, oh boy, something's about to happen. But these guys have done a phenomenal job keeping the cars relatively in line.
and keeping them relatively cool and in check on some of these runs as Garrett Maines takes the lead once again. Now keep in mind, these drivers are expected to pit in about 10-15 laps at the very most from now. And we've seen how aggressive some of the drivers were going to be on pit entry. Do you see drivers really trying to say, go maybe half throttle, three-quarter throttle in this pack as a result of those numbers we mentioned to try and make sure they're good to go on the gas?
Yeah, I think that's what you're seeing right now, because drivers now are in that fuel save mode. They know they have to save fuel, and we saw some issues getting on the pit road. I'm wondering if drivers are not only trying to save fuel, but they're also beginning to plan that move onto pit road to get themselves ready, as the outside line top two are able to get down in front of Garrett Maines now in the number one, who now tries to get a run on the outside with help from Navarro. But wow, Parsons goes up to take away the run, and Maines goes up to the wall, 3 wide for the race lead.
And contact behind, trouble in the middle of the exit of the oval. Caution flag is out, several cars spin. It is Mata who is a part of the cars who go around first. And that was near 3 wide to the back of the field. Christian Sanford had a big run up the middle and made contact with his door.
If you can't get a look at the replay here, the Mata rolling away in the 82. Ford Mustang pace car coming out. Second caution of the day. Here's a look at what happened. There's that big run you talked about.
And right into the door to the Erhauman. The one up towards front, Darren. Several more also spun around. And there goes the fuel strategy.
Yeah.
So now that puts everybody once again on equal footing. And this is what Chris Stevens needed, since he was on his 18th lap that time by with the pace laps.
Now he's going to be able to get some fresh tires on 18 laps. That falls right in line with what we saw out of the first run. So we know Stevens is going to take at least 2 tires here. But Justin, anybody else going to try to take some tires here? Or is it still too early to burn another one of those sets?
I think right now, again, we might see 2 tires again. It's going to be influential, since the amount of grip is surprisingly beneficial for a track such as Talladega, even more so Daytona, because of its ability to burn tires there. It's more so for the front stretch and the corner entries and exits that the tires would be beneficial for. Keep in mind, left side tires, car gets tighter for these respective machines. Right side tires, you expect the cars to get a bit looser as the run goes on. Hunter Parsons was the leader at the time of the caution flag. Ronald White, Garrett Maines, Chris Stevens, Andrew Navarro all ready to lead them down the pit lane, as already looking like a couple drivers thinking about possibly some strategy. That's Taylor Peacock taking a wide arc into the pit lane as everybody comes in, coming to 44 to go.
Drivers coming down pit road. Hunter Parsons lead the way. Ronald White in second, field coming down, and the big winner of this one, we talked about it, the LA Kings, Chris Stevens, in fourth as the drivers go in. Right side's going up. Some drivers.
Stevens not even taking tires. In fact, he had a longer pit stop despite that 8.6 seconds because he had to fill the full tank just about. So he loses track position as a result of that.
He lost 3 positions, Justin.
Yeah, he had to put more fuel in. That's why, Greg.
Put more fuel in, but I am very surprised he didn't take tires. He's got about what the first run was now on that set of tires. That's a gutsy call.
At the C, as we have a DNF now for the first time, it's Jeffrey Green, who is now among the drivers who all appear to be out of the running in this one. Everyone else still running. Christian Sanford, Brian Chu, Rob Green are all drivers getting damage repairs done. Joseph Allen is also currently off the racetrack getting repairs. Nicholas Sacco also getting some repairs done on his respective car. And we talked about the use of a fast repair in the past in various series. And for super speedway racing, it could be where you want to use it, but you almost can't use it, if that makes sense, because you never know when the big one's going to strike and when you need it for said big one.
We've talked about that in the Northwest Cup Series, which, by the way, returns to action tomorrow night at Texas. We've talked about that thing where you don't want to use that fast repair too early because, again, like you just don't know if you're going to need it again. And that's why you hear a lot of drivers get very upset when they have to use a fast repair early in the race because they know that things can lead to it being needed elsewhere. And when you've already used that, that pretty much signals the end of your race. But Justin, look up in front of your race leader, Garrett Maines. Look who's in line to once again take the wave around with, by the way, a fresh race car.
It's Kevin Howellman, who had that incident, and this is, again, going to put him on the lap. He is, mind you, with that fast repair used, on only a couple laps difference on the fuel cycle. All the drivers still have to pit at least twice to get to the end of this race. So he isn't out of the woods, but he's in a decent situation. Of note, Ed Osborne has elected to go to the back along with John Kinder, Justin Winter, Gary Zorski, Alan Dobbs, Brian Chu have all elected to top off with the one-to-go signal this time by. The number 20 is your wave around. Garrett Maines, Hunter Parsons, Ronald White, Andrew Navarro, Justin Michael, your top 5. Pete Polini up 19 spots is in 6. Chris Stevens, Zach Adams, Taylor Peacock, and Bradley Wilson round out your top 10. By the way, Polini is your biggest mover, and he's had an impressive past couple weeks, and what an impressive race for some of these competitors, especially Polini, who's had a quiet but clean one.
Polini, we talked about him earlier. I've been keeping my eye on that number 77. He has done a fantastic job here. Justin, here's another interesting stat that I'm noticing. 3 drivers in the top 10 started outside of the top 25. None of them took a qualifying lap. These drivers clearly knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to start at the back and try to work their way up to the front, and it has worked out. Those drivers, again, being Polini, Zach Adams, and Taylor Peacock. We talked about Peacock earlier in the number 81. We mentioned Zach Adams on that same strategy as Peacock. Polini up there as well. All 3 drivers did not post a qualifying lap, took a provisional starting spot, and have worked their way inside the top 10 before halfway. Very nice run by those 3.
100%. And the interesting thing when it comes to Polini's side is we mentioned the Blue Emo short track shootout that took place a few days ago, Greg. The interesting thing is, if you remember the name Larry Pace had actually ran for that organization, was a big pickup for CGE for Polini's team.
Yeah, that's a big pickup for that new team, and that's a team of drivers that started out on LSRTV. They started out racing together, and they realized, hey, we get along pretty well. Let's start our own team. That's, Kieran Church, Derek Fulton's involved. Got Polini repping it as well. Several other drivers up there as well. Bladen Edwards is involved. So plenty of drivers that you see on LSRTV on that new CGE. Adding Larry Pace to it, that's a big acquisition.
Drivers already trying to rev in first gear for the launch as Garrett Maines in control of the field. Hunter Parsons on the outside line so far today. The bottom line has had struggles. Garrett Maines, though, no struggles. Off and away goes the Richmond Raceway Esports Development driver as Parsons wants to go to the back. He says he's got a problem.
Parsons in the 00, not liking the start of that one. He's going to fall to the back. We'll see if he's able to fall in line or if there is a problem on that number 00, as he is already fallen back almost outside of the top 10 on that extreme outside, I like to call it, right up next to the wall. That's allowed Navarro to get a nice run on the outside of Maines. Race lead here down the backstretch, hooked up with some help from Justin Michael and people behind him. Like Parsons is going to fall in line near the back there. But Maines able to get out in front again with help this time from Ronald White.
Of note, by the way, Joseph Allen, we mentioned him off the racetrack. He had a technical issue, is now running and could be a lap traffic factor in about 10 laps from now for these respective cars. Halfway next time by, Maines looks to continue to lead up towards the front. He's led a majority of the laps so far today. Justin Michael among the others who have controlled this lead grouping. Ronald White, Andrew Navarro have also been willing and wanting to control the momentum of this pack. And it's been important for drivers such as Maines to do well with no Elliott Sauer Esports teammates in here. It's about trying to make friends where you find them for a race such as this if you are without teammates.
Wondering if we're seeing some of that manufacturer teammate support like we see in the real life Cup Series, because notice Maines has been trying to go with Toyota drivers for the most part, and he himself is also driving a Toyota. I've been noticing that Maines is trying to hook up with other Toyotas. So is there kind of some manufacturer support going on as well? Well, not so much manufacturer support, but like, hey, Toyotas, Fords, and Chevys trying to work together.
Our respective drivers who are working together in respective discords, keep in mind to try and communicate and whatnot. We mentioned the importance of that. Last time by, at the halfway point, Garrett Maines led by 4/100ths of a second over Andrew Navarro. 39 to go this time. And keep in mind that the pack sees 19 cars separated by 1.2 seconds. Lead pack features 22 total. Kevin Halleman, who took that wave around under the caution flag, is the last car on the lead lap in 22nd.
What an incredible job by Kevin Halleman in the 20 as well, up in 22nd position. He is actually not the last car on the lead lap. He's just the last car in that pack. There is a second pack that is falling way back there right now. It's got the likes of Ed Osborne, Justin Winters, John Kinder and company. They have fallen way back. They're just now coming off of turn number 2. Yep. So Hallman was able to grab on to the tail end of that lead pack, and just like that, taking the wave around, he is right back into the thick of things here.
Lap traffic ahead. That is Joseph Allen, we mentioned, in the big boy car with damage from some of the incidents. One car's blown up. One car is blown up. Caution is out.
That's Ronald White, who was in second place.
And there was
about that.
And there was also a crash with John Kinder that was separate to that just after the blow-up effect. So two different cars are with situations in the same corner. Kinder goes upside down. White loses an engine.
Take a look at the LSRTV replay as Kinder on his lid, something we're used to seeing here at Talladega.
Curious what happened to cause the 21 to go upside down there, as I believe it was when he was having some trouble with a car in front of him. If we can take a look at the LSRTV replay in a moment, it was Alan Dobbs who got turned in front of him, Greg, of note. And here's one of the things: when a car gets turned in front of the field, that's where trouble can ensue, whether it's the first pack or the second pack, which you're referring to prior to that corner.
We've seen that several times here's at Talladega, where a driver just gets hooked on the racetrack and he comes down in front of the field, and all of a sudden we have big problems in this one, as we're still looking for that replay to see if we can figure out what happened to John Kinder. We saw him on his lid.
It beat turn 4 last time by with the caution flag trigger.
Still looking for that replay. Saw Ronald White blow the motor. He has since come in and taken the fast repair. He's back rolling in the number 27 at the tail end of the field. But as we continue to look for the replay, we've got pit stops coming up, Justin.
Yes, we do. We have pit stops indeed, as we're going to take a look at what happened here. And as mentioned, it was the 21 who upside down. This is the full lap prior to the caution. It's on the exit of turn 4, because there is the blow up, but there's the secondary incident that happens that isn't even related to the blown engine.
That blown engine's all the way up there at the front of that big pack right there. This is way back here. This was around 25th, 26th on the racetrack. You're going to see the orange car blow up at the front of the pack. Everyone does a fantastic job to get away from it. Ooh, some connection issues behind Kinder. Oh, and it starts up in front of them there.
And ends up gets involved in the incident in turn. That triggers the caution flag as a result.
So connection issue. File field getting rolling again. Garrett Maines again. Pit road, but the 27 stayed out after having to take the fast repair under that caution.
He got lucky. He got lucky. It's going to be interesting, though, if he made it before the yellow. He did, is what we're hearing on race control radio, Greg. Yeah, he got lucky.
He got very lucky. That could not have worked out any better for the number 27, all things considered.
Absolutely. The race off the pit lane, by the way, was Maines, Navarro, Michael, Twinham, who did not stop Pellini, Church, Stevens, Adams, Peacock, the top 10. And we're hearing Ronald White is planning to come down this time by, though, and sacrifice the race lead with the timing of the caution flag.
So Ronald White, look for him to hang the left, and he will fall in line at the tail end of the lead lap. By the way, that's 28th position behind Alan Dobbs, who's the final car on the lead lap right now with a lot of damage after being caught up in that incident.
Yep, he is being waved around the pace car the next couple times around, getting him towards lead lap contention. As there he goes, number 27, down the pit lane, and Ryan Twinham, who did not stop, is coming in for his scheduled pit stop. As a result of that, still a two-stopper towards the end, but it's even more tighter as everyone topped off. Actually, if that, it's a one-stopper if you save. I just noticed. One stopper if you save if you get to 18 laps, like some did at the start, as we get the one to go.
All right. So it is time to really begin saving because, like you just mentioned, you can make it on one more stop if you start saving now. So, will we see drivers save, or do you think guys are focused 100% on that two-stop from here? Now, we really begin to have a strategy discussion, and this is where having a crew chief is going to
Yeah, this is where your experience comes into play absolutely as well. Keep in mind that the following drivers topped off on top of Twinham: Ronald White, Michael Anthony, Ed Osborne, Alan Dobbs, who was involved in that caution flag, Gary Jaworski, and Justin Winters, all have topped off, will have an extra half a gallon of fuel at the most in the tank in their respective cars. Also of note, Joseph Allen is now back on the lead lap with the wave around 29 cars will be on the lead lap for this restart. John Kinder will be one lap down. Rob Green is currently off the racetrack. He is 2 laps down in the number 91 machine. Your favorites here if things stay clean?
Well, I've liked what I've seen out of Garrett Maines. He's been up front for most of the race. Andrew Navarro in the number 2, of course, being fast. But the number 27 of Ronald White, even though he's going to be starting at the back, we know he's got a lot of speed in that number 27 car. I will not be surprised to see him try to make his way up towards the front. So I'm going to keep my eye out for that orange number 27 and see how much ground he can gain here in these final 35 laps.
And it's the Elite Celery Esports machine of Garrett Maines on the bottom, Andrew Navarro in the 7Cs, Corporate Cruises and Events machine on the outside of the front row, one of the CGE competitors. Justin Michael is in third, Pete Pellini, the RCGE car, up towards the front is in fourth, while Church and Stevens are in row 3. Adams, Peacock, row 4. Wilson and Clint Mata, who's recovered from his incident, rounds out the top 10 in his Jelly Bean-inspired race car. Green flag waits up at the stand for the Smithfield Toyota Camry. Off and away they go.
Drag race down towards turn number 1. Again, that's the first time, Justin, that the inside line has been able to work that way. As we, for the first time today, do not see the outside line fall in line behind him. And look who was at the control car on that one, Garrett Maines, who has been the guy who's able to get down on both restarts. So Garrett Maines, a nice restart there on the inside. But here comes Navarro with a big run on the outside.
And you see with the speeds quickly going in half a track from about 100 miles an hour to 187 in the span of about 15 seconds or so, as Michael now trying to push on forward in the 511 machine. The teammates hooking up on the top line. Kieran Church in the PMI machine also trying to make an impact.
Church, we haven't talked about him yet in the number 22, but he's been slowly working his way up through the field, trying to get up there. Church, third in line on the inside. Another name that should be familiar to LSRTV viewers over the course of the summer, as he's third in line on the inside right now behind Michael and Maines and leading the way. Watch him to maybe try to get hooked up here with Pete Pellini on the outside if they can figure a way out to do it. as well Andrew Navarro, because these 2 or 3 race together a lot, and most of them are here on LSRTV. So these 3 drivers know how to work together, and I won't be surprised to see if Church tries to get hooked up with them.
He can find a hole is the main key, because there's not a lot of drivers backing off like they were before. They're all trying to keep it in the pack. Keep an eye, though, on that middle line. Here comes Hunter Parsons with contact, trying to force it up the hole. Contact to the inside as he spins with Wilson. No caution yet as Wilson comes up on the racetrack. We stay green.
That's because they spun down below the double yellow line. Once the cars are below the double yellow line, it does not trigger a caution. So that's why you did not see a caution. By the time they came back up on the racing surface, they were up to enough speed. So that's a big one there for Parsons, a guy who had been up in position to contend for the lead earlier in this one and led a few laps. All of a sudden now he's outside the top 20.
And that's the danger part of leaving holes, right? Is if you aren't doing the side draft, or at least tightening up by at least a quarter or half a car length, somebody's going to force it up the inside of you and make it 3 wide, and that was the case right there. By the way, technical issues for Kieran Church. He is now off the racetrack, the short track racer, with the technical problem in the 14. Loses him the lead pack.
Just talked about it for about Kieran Church in the 22, and there it is. He has officially fallen out of the server. So those technical issues big now on the 22 of Churches. Here comes Navarro on the outside once again, trying to get a run on mains. Rest of the field able to get in line with Church missing now. They were able to fall in line with each other.
Commentators curse, striking in various different ways today. Currently, though, the lead pack as a result of that incident, 18 cars are holding on to it. Darren Heilman and Ronald White are just barely in the tail end of the draft, to say the very least right now. Rest of the group is up there, including Nicholas Sacco, who is now up in 15th position. Sacco, rather, is now trying to move on the bottom line. He's in that black and white car. You see number 29, remember, was one of the cars in the lead group before and was a lap car at one point from a speeding penalty.
So as the drivers try to get themselves going, speeding penalties not going to help out. Ooh, Stevens getting a little loose there as the guy was peeking on the outside. He got a big problem. There's the big one.
Pete Polini turned as several cars crash. More than 8 involved as we are under yellow as more cars steam their way into the incident. So with 30 laps to go, it's a one-stopper from here as Pete Polini gets hit after contact on the bottom line. Hit from the 33 and a bad bump off the corner from the 999 causes the incident off of turn 4.
What I was talking about there, as I saw the 33 get loose, and I was getting ready to say that the guy was trying to get a little bit of a bump draft there on the wrong side. Looking for the replay, trying to get it exactly teed up. Here it is. Had to get the exact moment right there. There's the bad bump we were talking about.
And you don't usually bump off the corners with these cars. Huge hit, though, for the number 82, and he's used the faster pair before. At least one car just about got a speeding penalty. Several more got stuck in the safer barrier they hit so hard. Just nowhere to go for a majority of the lead pack. And then you have that second pack just come on in.
Big one strikes here with just over 30 to go. We're at 30 laps to go now. The top 3 cars, Maines, Navarro, and Michael, made it through, and then everybody else had issues, and a lot of drivers not happy with how that race went. Clint Mata saying his day's done, and he is not happy with how that unfolded as the cars come down pit road.
As pit stops get underway, we'll see who comes off the lane first. Keep in mind that the reason all of these drivers are lengthening top off, and not just for the damage, is because they can make it easily on a one stop from this point, pending GWCs. Garrett Maines leads the race off pit lane. Justin, Michael, Andrew Navarro, Christian Sanford, Nicholas Sacco, the top 5. John Erst staying out on the racetrack that time by. He had hit the previous lap on the racetrack. Take a quick break. You're watching LSRTV for straight cash money from the virtual Talladega Superspeedway.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Welcome back to the virtual Talladega Superspeedway for more coverage of straight cash money. The cash prizes available for the top 5 in points throughout this season and the top 5 for each and every race. It's been an eventful race so far where Garrett Maines has led a majority of the laps today. He's your race leader after the previous leader had to come down to the pit lane for respective penalties as he had come down under the initial pit road closed lap for the caution flag. That means Justin Michaels in second, Andrew Navarro, Christian Sanford, Nicholas Sacco, your top 5, with Alan Dobbs recovering from an incident in 6th. Michael Anthony, Ed Osborne, Ryan Twinham, Justin Winters, your top 10 in this one so far. With 28 laps to go, it's been an intriguing one, to say the very least, from Talladega for these respective competitors. Greg, your expectations for the closing stages, as now all these drivers need to do is pit one more time to make it on gas.
Yeah, now that everyone's pretty much into that mindset of they can make it on fuel with one more stop, now I think you're going to start seeing them all just go all out and come down right around the same lap that we saw on that first green flag run. If they can make it there, laps 17 to 18, where they about 2/3 pit on 17 and then the final third on 18. I think now strategy can kind of go out the window as far as fuel mileage goes because of the timely cautions. You can make it up there to the end as Maines lead the way, Michael second, Navarro and Sanford. I'm worried about that 50 car though, Justin, because looking at the back, he has a lot of damage on the back of that 50 car, so I'm worried about him moving forward here on this restart.
Alan Dobbs also has not had that back end repaired as well, so a couple drivers rolling the dice, fast repairs. There is 2 green-white checkered, by the way, in case they are needed. Just saying. Just been informed for your race control for these competitors, so you have to keep that in mind as well for fuel calculations if it gets to that point.
That's going to make it even more interesting, but remember, you have to have a caution in that time window to even set up the green-white checker, but 2 attempts at it, you have to factor in, what would you say, probably another, I don't know, 6 laps in that? 8 laps? How many extra laps with 2? Yeah. All depends on how it goes, of course, but yeah, you would have to factor in probably up to 8 extra laps if that is what it boils down to.
And it comes down to how many green flag laps you had initially too, and how many are under caution.
And when your last pit stop was.
Exactly. 27 laps to go for the first race of the season for straight cash money from Talladega. Garrett Maines from Elliott Sauer Sports. The control car once more. He has been one of the main drivers leading this pack, but one of its early leaders. Justin Michael wants that lead back in the 5.11 machine. See how he does on the outside as he gets a huge shove on the outside. Green flag zone, back on our way. And once again, the top line is the best line off the restart. Michael got a bump draft that helped him get that push, though, from Sanford.
But now we're starting to see those aero problems on the damaged number 50 car come into play, and Michael loses his drafting partner at least as well as he wanted it to, as Maines is able to clear him off of turn number 2. Maines goes up to pick up Michael, here in the 87. But look at the 50 tuck right up on the back bumper now. He's able to get back up there, as now we're starting to see an extreme high side come in, led by Dobbs in the 3. He's got Ed Osborne, who's number 5 on your screen. He's in that HendrickCars.com number 5, but he's number 11 on the ticker. But he's trying to make his way up to the front now. He's been slowly creeping his way up. Remember, he was facing the wrong way on the one-way earlier today as well. Kieran Church has gotten the number 22 refired. He's just now rolling off the pit road, 6 laps down.
That's in 30th position, currently second last car overall who made the starts today. But keep in mind, Michael Anthony is someone we haven't talked about too much in his number 8 car. It's 32 on time and in scoring for today, but Balls Out Racing, his organization, is one that focuses on short track racing and fixed oval racing. He's looking to try and make a statement in that respective car today. For the first time up in the lead pack as the 2 cars continue to drop back on the top line, you see in Osborne and company.
Up in that top 5 right now. He's 3rd in line on the bottom, tucked up behind Sacco, who also has had a nice recovery. A lot of drivers up here at the front have either been hanging out at the back all day or have had nice recoveries.
We haven't even mentioned too much about the 18 car, rather. Pardon me there, Greg. And Gary Jaworski, who we have seen run in the back all day long, one of the Bluegrass iRacing Series base drivers, who is up to 7th spot now and is looking to take away 6th.
Having a nice run. He's 4th in line on the bottom there. That black and red 18 car, kind of some Kyle Busch vibes. Remember the old Z-Line cars that he used to run in the Xfinity Series? That's kind of the vibe I'm getting off of that number 18 right now, albeit some different sponsors and a little bit of a different paint scheme, but that's the vibe I'm getting off it right now. He's 4th in line there on the bottom. It is in the Toyota, so it works out even more as he's trying to get back up there to get up on the back of the 8 car. I'm very impressed with what the outside lane has been able to do now, trying to get up as Maines went up there. But look at Navarro on the inside trying to get the lead. He did lead that lap, and he's trying to clear Maines through the corner. Remember, this is where the inside line is stronger, but as they come off corner exit, watch the big run on the outside.
A good burst of speed from Garrett Maines and company. There is a bit of damage. Keep in mind, in Navarro's left front, it has cracked a bit of the fender. 2-3 wide to the back of the pack still, as several more cars trying to shuffle their way towards the end of this lead group. 23 cars separated by just under 2 seconds are in this pack with 23 laps to go this time.
Through the tri-oval. Right now, the urgency has definitely picked up here for this race. As you know, drivers are trying to set themselves up into position, and I think we're past go time now for those drivers that were hanging out of the back. I think you're going to be seeing these guys come through, and we're seeing that with the likes of Osborne and Chu in that Interstate Batteries number 30 car, trying to make his way up there. Drivers who hung out at the back, they're making their way to the front now.
How about Pete Polini, who was involved in that big incident moments ago? He is trying to get a big boost of speed. Look at that run, though, from Kevin Heilman. He tried to go to the outside, had to check up, though, as he cut to that high line, trying to use the 3rd lane with Darren. So the family members now trying to work that high line to get up to these lead cars still. Polini's able to ditch them, as now the rest of the pack is all shuffling about. There's that 77. Back end now with the 2nd line, trying to find some space.
Trying to get his way up there. He's up in front of the 78 now. Try to get up to the front. You have to check in on what the relation is between Kevin and Darren, the Hallmans, who are in identical Napa paint schemes right now, trying to make their way up to the front, but they're going to fall in line behind the pack and try to make their way up once again, set up another run. Things have settled down now, 2 by 2, solid throughout the field. Navarro with the nose in front. Garrett Maines just making his way up. Curtis Critchley has signed in to help out his teammates. He's down in the pits for the Team CGE. The other driver there on CGE, trying to make his way, or make his presence felt, trying to help his teammates out in this one.
Following along, I believe, with some of these drivers on the radios, trying to help them keep calm. But right now, the question is how the momentum continues to ride on forward with 20 to go this time by. CGE trying to control the pack still. Sanford, by the way, has worked his way to the bottom side. Also, give a shout out to Brian Chu, who is among the drivers in the 30s at one point throughout this race. Chewy is also in this lead pack in 13th position at the moment on the top line, trying to move on forward as the two groups are working towards that magic fuel number, just 3 laps away from the magic number to make it under green flag conditions as Jeff Snyder nearly spun at the bottom of the racetrack.
That is not what drivers want to see here, is an untimely yellow. They've had some luck with the yellows, but a yellow coming out right now, that would make it to where they would have to stretch it, and they would still have to save probably a half lap or so. One car trying the extreme outside. Who is that? I believe that is the driver that was upside down earlier in the day. Kinder. And he got a big run, moving up from 19th. He's going to be pretty well up there in the top 10 if he's able to settle this down. Nice run on the outside by Kinder.
And just like that, Kinder goes from 19th at the stripe last time to inside the top 10, and now everybody wants to make a move. Anthony now to the outside. Kinder elects to go to the middle. Chu now ditched. 19 to go. Magic number 2 laps away. Kinder wants track position though. Keep in mind they can go about 7 to 8 more laps based on the data from the first green flag pit stops in this race. If it stays green is the key point.
Key point there is if it stays green, because we haven't seen that since that first run. It turned into a caution-free caution race, which is what helped out the 33 of Chris Stevens, who stayed out on that second cycle of pit stops, and he's been up at the front ever since, despite being caught up in the incident. Talking about that 33 LA Kings car, 3 wide, 4 deep for the race lead, and they are trying to make their way up, but wow, things getting very hairy right now as Navarro checks up on the inside. Main's going to lead the lap, but now with 8 of Anthony up in the second spot.
Well, they find a hole. Will Main's try and drop down to the bottom line? No. Trying to bring Justin Michael with him, but he keeps it side by side. Navarro now with the run after the checkup. Top line starting to die off a touch. Green light to make it on gas, this time by 3 wide still for the lead. And now look as several more cars trying to join this grouping. Make it now near 4 or 5 rows deep, 3 wide, and several rows 2 deep wide. Pete Polini trying to get in on this. You see in the backdrop.
Notice what happened as soon as that top line, the very top line up there, Kinder and Anthony up there. Notice what happened when they lost touch with the rest of the field that was behind them. They were able to get a nice run on the outside. Look who else has joined the fun. Hunter Parsons. We thought we could write him off after the incident earlier in the day. He has worked his way back up into the mix. Third in line on the outside.
Yeah, he's really trying to get that moving now for the track position. And now it becomes the matter of when does everybody pit? Still 3 wide for the race lead. This could get tight if drivers have to come down, because this is some of the hardest racing of the day we've seen.
Barrow leading the way. Mains in the middle. Anthony trying to make that outside lane work. Now 5 cars as the 52 and the 18 have worked their way up. We are inside that window now, that once they pit for fuel, they're good to go on green. So now's the question, when do they pit? 16 laps to go. When do these drivers come down, and when do we start to see it? Because boy, if this thing stays green flag pit stops with the way this is going, nope, that's not going to happen, as we've got problems.
Caution is out. It's a secondary big one. 5 to 8 cars involved down the back straightaway. As Garrett Maines scored as the leader, involved Sacco, Darren Howellman, Ryan Twinem, Bradley Wilson again, several more spinning. Pete Polini also involved.
Sacco caught up in his second one. That could be the end of his night, as he already had to take a faster pair. And you see him crab walking down towards turn number 3. One of the Hallmans involved there. I think that was the 99 of Darren Hallman. Look at the 29 crab walking there. Got modified up there behind him.
So the trigger on that, by the way, was 3 wide with a car moving up. Twinem slides up the racetrack and ends up collecting several cars in the heart of the lead pack.
Tough one there. is definitely going to be Polini in the 77 because he had done such a great job making his way up through the field. Here's another look at it.
He got slammed into from behind on the checkup. What about the 99 we've seen there? That was Darren Howellman we mentioned, who had nowhere to go as Sacco slid down the track right into him after he checked up and missed everything. And now, everyone can make it on gas from here, and this is where things get aggressive.
What would you do tire-wise, Justin? We all know everyone's going to take as much fuel as they can. Tire-wise, 2, 4, you got enough time to try to charge through the field if you lose some track position. Put your crew chief hat on. What do you do?
It depends on the tire sets available, and honestly, would take 4 Greg and try and work from the front. But if you want the track position, we may see the top offs or likely the 2 tires with the distance, especially with the amount of time in the tank. Garrett Maines leads them down. Navarro, Michael, Kinder, and Dobbs, the top 5 coming in. And remember, some of those cars stay fast repairs. Garrett Maines missed the pit box. Garrett Maines, the race leader, overruns his stall and loses the lead, drops back 2 positions. He just got lucky. He'll still be on the bottom side, but that could have been much worse. Justin Michael and Andrew Navarro jump him.
Good news for Maines is he has plenty of time to recover as he's going to be in 3rd, but that was a very, very uncharacteristic move there by Garrett Maines. I think he was thinking about what he was going to do tire-wise, strategy-wise, and unfortunately he just slid through the pit box. But wow, this sets up a big-time finish here. Michael, Navarro, Maines, Anthony, Hunter Parsons back in the top 5.
Yeah, and now, knowing the aggressive moves needed, how do you try and plan this out? Because you make the wrong move, you collect the field. You make the too cautious move, you likely lose the race.
You gotta find that happy medium. You gotta find that spot of being aggressive, but being patient as well. You're gonna have to make it until about 4 laps to go. I think 4 laps to go, the gloves come off and everybody goes all out 100%. But I think you're gonna see a couple drivers hanging back, trying to be patient until about that 4 lap to go mark. For reference, we're sitting at 13 to go when we get to the line. I think we'll have 12 to go or so when we take the green flag. So this is going to change the entire complexion of this race now.
Who do you feel that we should be paying attention to that we haven't seen too much of then as a result of this?
No, the guy who really impressed me on that last run was Brian Chu in that Interstate Batteries number 30, the Bobby Labonte throwback. Really impressed me with how him and Kinder were able to make their way up to the field, but Kinder has fallen back to 15th. Chu is up in 7th right now. That's him in the green car right there. I was pretty impressed with what he was able to do, getting hooked up there with Kinder and make his way up through the field. Don't be too surprised if that 30 car is able to make some noise by the end of this race.
By the way, several cars you just seen are in the pit lane getting some repairs done. Nicholas Sacco is now out of the race. Also, Pete Polini came down to the pit roads closed. He's lost a lap. Kieran Church, as mentioned, is now the last car running on the track. J.R. Miller also elects to get repairs done rather than take the wave around.
Right.
John Erst also coming down for additional repairs with the 1 to go.
Speaking of repairs, as we get the one to green, look at the driver in 6th, Christian Stanford. We talked about him having a lot of damage on the 50 car. He was able to save the fast repair. He took it on that caution. He's up in 6th with a brand new race car.
So to reset your field, it is Michael and Navarro, Maines and Anthony, Sanford and Parsons, Heacock and Chu, Osborne and Snyder, the top 10, Wilson and Allen, Winters and Twin M, Kinder and Kevin Howellman, Jablonski, along with Jaworski, Stevens, Dobbs, round out the top 20. Then it's Ernst, who just got repairs done once again, Zach Adams, Darren Howellman, who all have a shot, 23 cars in the lead lap. In total, 27 are still running your DNFs on the race. Rob Green, Clint Mata, Ronald White, and Nicholas Sacco. Throughout this event, DNSs, Stephen Gregory, Michael Adams, the cars laps down are Elliott, Polini, Miller, and Church. Your pick to win this one with 12 to go when we get back racing.
Pick to win, I got to go with Garrett Maines. Pick to surprise us, I'm sticking with the 30 car, Brian Chu.
I'm picking Maine's punt potentially as well with how he's done surprise-wise. How about the pace car? No, seriously, in all seriousness, let's go with Christian Sanford. With how he was able to hold on with the damage, I think he earned a couple drivers' respects, but also might have to be aggressive to try and get some pushes here based on some of the radio reactions to his decision back then. But 12 laps from Talladega. Straight cash money, and its season opener has been a wild one so far, with several big ones, including one with 8 cars just bringing out this caution flag. All drivers can make it on gas from here. The question is which drivers will make it to the checker flag. It's Michael and Navarro on the front row. Flag waits up on the stand. Green flag's back out. We're underway. And a great launch from both rows this time.
Beautiful launch by both of them there. Stayed dead even with each other. That's going to come down to who has the better pusher. And it looks like Garrett Maines is going to get right up on the back of Justin Michael. Michael Anthony doing a nice job getting up there on Navarro as well, but Maines was able to do it quicker, and that's what allowed them to get that big run off of turn number 2 down the back stretch. But Navarro able to get that outside line, which is so strong on corner exit. But going into turn number 3, Michael and Maines are going to have that preferred line. By the way, Justin, don't forget, $50 to the winner.
Yes, indeed. Top 5 get cash prizes throughout today, or what has been an entertaining season opener so far, as well as top 5 for the point standings at the end of the season. Michael and Maines are clear, though. Will Maines stick with them is the question. No room to move up with Navarro getting a huge bump from Anthony. 10 to go next time by. Sanford now on the top line. Chu is on the bottom line. Rest of the field starting to break up, in fact, behind him.
That's what these guys want to see as well. There's your answer to the question. Maines is going to go pick up Navarro on the outside and get that run on the outside line that we talked about being the strong point on exit. Gets around Michael going down the backstretch. Can he clear him by the time they get to turn number 3 is the question. No, Michael comes fighting back on the inside, but now Maines is hooked up with Navarro. Those two have worked well together all day long. Look at Brian Chu, though, in the 30, trying to get a run there, using a little bit of a side draft there to try to get caught up to Parsons, who, again, we talked about him having a lot of speed in the 00. Toyota drag race down the back stretch, 10 to go. Front stretch, excuse me.
Yes, indeed. Closing stages as near contact, pushing up there once again is the dirt racer in Parsons. Nearly making door-to-door contact in the door-to-door car wraps machine. Maines trying to side draft. Michael trying to get the bump. Navarro now getting the triple bump draft as Michael Anthony gets the bump on the back end of him.
Nice run on the outside there as Anthony is able to get to the bumper of Navarro and catapult him into Maines. But look at that inside line hooking up there with Michael still up front. Maines with a nice run on the outside, trying to get the run into the tri-oval. Navarro, Michael trying to help out. Maines clears and gets him down on the bottom.
Now he controls the main pack. 9 laps to go. Now who will try and take the control back? Anthony trying to push the damaged car, Navarro. Remember, had that left front damage on the very edge of the car. He has not taken the fast repair in that number 2 machine today. He's now being ditched. The whole pack trying to ditch him on the high side. Anthony trying to work with several cars. Sanford ditches him. Here comes the push now with Anthony from Joseph Allen. Where did Owens come from? His twin am gets turned. He saves it. They crash off of turn 3. Caution flag is now out as they pile up a second time in one corner.
A third big one. This one's going to take out a couple drivers who are up in the mix for the win. The Ed Osborne rolling away there. You're looking at the 999 trying to get going. Inside 10 laps to go, we have an accident. Look, LSRTV replay.
Ryan Twinem, your trigger. He ends up getting hit on the inside. Saves it a first time, and then it crashed a second time. Jeff Snyder. Yeah. He went up in the air, Jeff Snyder did.
Yeah, he had all 4 tires off the ground. We didn't see that the first time. Let's take another look at that right there. Oh, ho, ho. not only did he have all 4 tires off the ground, he had a car underneath him. Was that Kinder that climbed underneath him?
I think so. And then you have John Hurst, who tried to full throttle it through the wreck in the Midwest Classic Stock Car Association car, the 75, and hit the checking up 8 car. You see him fly on in and drive right by it and into the cars in front of him, blows his engine immediately too. So several cars try to go and avoid the incident by going full throttle. Again, the 75 you see just stopped there was the car referred to, who just did the full throttle method. It doesn't work, unfortunately.
Well, get that man a sponsorship from Full Throttle Energy Drink. We've seen that here on the Pass in LSR TV as he just licked the stamp and send it there at the end of that wreck. Back up front, inside 10 to go. Maines, Michael, Navarro, Sanford up in 4th now after taking the fast repair. Then Hunter Parsons in the 0. What a recovery for Parsons after having that incident early in the race, as he was outside the top 20. He was outside the top 25. We thought he was a lost cause in this one, but with some timely cautions and being able to race his way back up, here he is in the top 5, getting set for a shootout. Looks like there's going to be 5 laps to go when we take the green flag, if math adds up. That's announcer math, though. That is that's not accurate math. That's announcer math. That's a little bit different.
Well, you're correct, since it is a quick yellow track, where each caution you get 1 lap to come down and pit. You have the additional lap, and then, or potential of an additional, if you don't pit, and that's about it. Green flag comes out.
I'm smart. SMRT smart.
You're missing a letter in there, but sure. Sure. Maines, Michael, Navarro, Sanford, Parsons, as mentioned, the top 5. Keep in mind that Osborne, Kinder, Jeff Snyder, Zach Adams, all having to get significant damage repair. Fast repair is used as well for some of the cars just involved in that crash, while others like Chris Stevens, more than 1.5 minutes in the pit lane. Dobbs ended up taking the fast repair as well in that situation. So, we'll have to see how this plays out for the cars, and how aggressive do you try and be, especially with money on the line, Greg, for a race like this.
Now, go time. You have no other choice. You're going to be 5 laps to go here for a win at Talladega and $50 cash. It's go time. There is no patience anymore. You got to get to the front, and it doesn't matter if you're 1st or 21st. You got to find a way to get to the front.
Absolutely. I'll have to see how this plays out. Give a shout out to Joseph Allen. He's gone through and recovered from being several laps down, Greg. Is in 7th. He was moving on that top line and was one of the cars given a bump draft before things went haywire off in turn 3.
He has had a nice recovery as well. Up in 7th now.
Yes.
Number 23. Up in the top 10.
And that's what can happen if you keep the race fairly clean. 6 to go this time, as there go the lights, and there is the smarts coming into play. The question is, who will make the smartest moves?
Not
Especially
us.
with... Okay.
It's going to be someone in the driver's seat who's going to make that one for sure. I think on this one, I think I'm agreeing with you. I like the 50 of Sanford because he stayed out, saved that fast repair for the crucial time. Here he is, up in the top 5. I like that one, Justin.
And I'm really intrigued to see who ends up trying to make it 3 wide. The first driver is up towards the top. We've seen how that line was moving fairly quickly if you had enough cars getting around to it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see several tandem drafts come up here, Greg. Your opinion?
Tandem draft, I think we see 1 or 2, but I don't think that's going to be the ideal situation.
Or rather, at least a couple tandems to try and at least get things started to get to the front.
Yeah, that's what I think you're going to see. I don't think that's the winning move per se, but I think you're going to see a couple guys maybe deeper in the field, like, say, Peacock, Wilson, Stevens, guys right around the top 10 or so. I think you might see them try to hook up. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Hallmans hook up. The problem with that is Kevin Hallman's driving a modified out there in the number 20. He's going to be restarting on the inside of Chris Stevens right now, so that might not work out too well. But I think deeper in the field, right around the 10th position, that's where you're going to see the tandem drafts try to get things going. These guys up front, though, they're going to be jockeying, or they're going to be too busy trying to get up front. I don't think they're going to be worried about a tandem draft. I think you're going to see that deeper in the field.
And a long slide penalty again for John Kinder. Significant damage on that race car either way. Was scheduled to start inside the top 20. 5 laps to go from Talladega to start off Straight Cash Money's new season. Who will take home the cash from Talladega and start off with a good points haul for the overall championship standings? Let's find out. It's Maines and Michael on the front row. Navarro, Sanford, Parsons, and Anthony. Your top 6. Green flag is back out. 5 laps to decide it from Dega.
Go green. Maines and Michael drag race into turn number 1. 5 to go. Navarro hooking right up on the back bumper of Maines. I think you're going to see those two work together now. They know exactly what to expect with each other. Navarro and Maines. We've seen it come down to between the two of them a couple of times in the past on LSRTV in super late model competition. I think those two are going to be the ones to hook up together and try to work together for this one. Not necessarily tandem, but they're going to make things very difficult on the guys outside of them.
Still trying to get the draft a little bit is Michael on the side draft. No one's dunked out for the third line quite yet. Sanford, though, tries to get the bit of the push now.
Was there a little bit of connection issue on the 87 there?
I believe there was. That could have made things very difficult. Keep in mind, there is motor damage being reported on Zach Adams' car, so take him out of the contention with 4 to go.
Michael able to get a nice run on the outside, but that connection issue coming off of turn number 4, raising some eyebrows, especially with that number 50 of Sanford, because you're right up on the back bumper of a car and all of a sudden it disappears, even for half a second. That's a little bit of a eyebrow raiser if you're behind the wheel of that number 50 car. Seems to be working, though, right now, as Michael had the lead going into turn number 3. As they come down the backstretch, it's going to be 3 to go when they get to the line.
3 laps to go from Talladega. Again, if they take the white flag, the race is official. Any caution from this point on will trigger a green-white checkered attempt. Sanford thought about the third line. Chu wants the third line. Sanford starting to overheat behind Michael. Anthony now shuffles out. Dobbs now goes up into the third car in the row as Sanford goes up to the top line and ditches Justin Michael for the corner.
But that might be what cost him, because now he's going to be freight trained as that outside line wasn't moving yet, as the cars on the inside line were able to get around him there in the middle. So Sanford, he's going to have to get that line going now. Looks like he is, as he's hooked up with Anthony and Chu on the outside there. He's going to have to get going. 2 laps to go, just over 5 miles when they get to the line. Maines and Navarro, like we talked about, they're hooked up there on the bottom. They're going to make things very difficult for these guys. They want to settle it between them, as Parsons is right there in third.
And our Justin has joined the chat. It is Justin Winters who is involved in that last incident in turn 3. He used the fast repair, took 4 tires. He's now the 4th car in the middle, forced to check up with 2 laps to go. Navarro trying to push Maines. Michael still trying to get the run with Dobbs.
Navarro hooked right up on the back of Maines there, as the middle lane gets a good run with Michael, getting the help from Dobbs. Dobbs with a big push down the backstretch, heading off into turn number 3. They're coming to the white flag. They're going to see one more lap as Garrett Maines leads. Ooh, some wobbling and weaving behind them, and Dobbs has to go to the extreme outside to pick up Sanford. I don't think that was his intention, but it might work out for him. As they come around, they're going to see the white flag and the CRN 1 to go.
Final lap from Talladega as Dobbs leads at the stripe. Can he lead the checker flag lap is the question. He cuts down 3 lanes, controls the bubble. Michael gets a huge block in front of him. Maines cuts underneath, contact, crash to the outside. Winters also hits the fence. They still fight for the race lead down the back straightaway. Navarro with the push, trying to give a shove to Maines. Michael with significant damage. Here comes Hunter Parsons with Joseph Allen for the run.
They're going to race them back to the line. Maines, Navarro, 1-2. Outside lane, more contact as they break free. They save it though, and it's coming down. Maines leading the way, looking for $50. Outside line, Parsons and Chu. One final push. 23 to the outside. Parsons with a crossover. Garrett Maines is going to do it.
Garrett Maines wins the season opener for straight cash money at Talladega. What a crazy final lap. Again, all results unofficial, but man, oh man, did Maines put on a show today. He takes the checker flag from Talladega to start off the season.
When he was dominating the super late model scene and even some cup races on LSRTV and even some truck races in the past, we gave him the nickname the Terminator, and he just did it again. Garrett Maines, another victory here on LSRTV, is one car going for a ride. That was Parsons in the 00 going for a ride. But let's take a look, Justin, at how we got here, because we had two instances of wrecks here on the final lap. This is the first one.
See right there, Dobbs getting hooked right against the very edge of Michael's car, and wow.
Oh.
Well, that's a way to get stuck in the safer barrier.
Ow.
That's the worst one I've ever seen here at Talladega, is how about riding on top of it? But Garrett Maines overall will get the chance to do burnouts and takes home the top prize today for straight cash money to start off the campaign. It's been a busy past couple days, keep in mind, Greg. Was talking with him before today. He's run a ton of races over the past few days on top of his preparation for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. How about back-to-back wins for the past couple of days for him in money races? He wins it by 1/10 of a second over Joseph Allen. Navarro, Parsons, and Chu round out the pay positions today, while Jaworski finishes just outside that bubble 6/10 back. Taylor Peacock, Justin Michael, Michael Anthony, Chris Stevens rounds out the top 10, Greg.
Coming home in 11th was Bradley Wilson there with the number 51 after being caught up in an incident. Christian Sanford, we talked about him being up there at the end. He falls to 12th. J.R. Miller, Darren Hallman, and Zach Adams round out your top 15. Then John Kinder, who had made his way up to the front after being upside down at one point. Brian Jablonski, Ed Osborne, Kevin Hallman, and Alan Dobbs round out your top 20. Coincidentally, they're also your top 20 lead lap cars, as everyone else was one lap down or more.
Justin Winters, we've seen his reasoning in 21st. Pete Bellini, 22nd. Elliott Snyder Church also laps down. 20M was in the lead pack at one point, finishes 9 laps down, 26. But John Hurst also in that grouping, 27. Sacco finishes a DNF in 28th. Ronald White, Rob Green, Clint Mata round out your 31 entrants. Gregory and Adamson did not make it to the start for today's action. Real quickly, Greg, your thoughts on what was an eventful one?
Boy, what a race at Talladega. Talladega always seems to live up to the hype, and it is always fun. And wow, we saw a great race here tonight. And two drivers that we're very familiar with on LSR TV, Andrew Navarro and Garrett Maines, battling it out for the win. Very, very fun race here tonight. Looking forward to the rest of this 4 remaining races for this series.
See what the drivers feel and think after today's action. Post-race coverage coming up in just a moment. You're watching LSR TV from the virtual Talladega Superspeedway.
Hey, it's Wesley Outland of CRN Sports, one of the co-founders. I'm also one of the announcers on Live Sim Racing, LSR TV. We've recently partnered with LiveSimRacing.com to become the official radio partner of all of the esports events. What is CRN? Well, first off, we're going to be covering esports like it's never been done before with our MRN, PRN type radio atmosphere like you experience with NASCAR. In addition to that, we will cover the Northwest Trucking Cup Series, the Northwest Tour, and of course special events and sanctions like swag and special events like 6 Hours at Daytona and so much more. It's very simple to check out the racing action, whether on LSR TV, on Facebook and YouTube, or by listening. And that's how I want to help you real quickly. Go up simply to the website, wearecrn.com, wearecrn.com, click play, and you are set. It's that simple. We're excited to be the voice of Live Sim Racing. We are CRN. Follow us at crn.com.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom T-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. Personalized. I mean, we do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything. Hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold, to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customer and stuff. So you can just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, and if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink colors. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. We do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees@yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
Take Andrew.
Welcome back to LSRTV's coverage for Straight Cash Money after what was an eventful opener to start off the campaign from Talladega Superspeedway. In the end, though, today, it's Garrett Maines who takes the checker flag. He's now standing by from LSRTV Victory Lane. Garrett, you are a winner to start off the campaign from Straight Cash Money. How does it feel to win what was a wild one from Talladega?
Yeah, that was a really solid race for us. There were a lot of incidents that were right behind us, unfortunately, but we stayed up front the whole day. We did what we had to do to maintain a good finishing spot, and we came out with the win. Definitely happy to get that. Good way to start. Hopefully, I can run the rest of the season. That'd be really cool.
Yes, indeed. Coming away with the top total prize, $50 reported from Race Control, 2 drivers before the start of today's action. Talk us through the strategy and trying to plan things out. It seemed like you had a fair amount of friends that you picked up, especially some of the various groups like Navarro and company.
Yeah, we had a really good group up front that was really there were only a few examples that would stand out where we weren't in the lead, but it worked out really. Everybody worked together perfectly. Aside from Sacco's pit stop, that was completely a perfect race, essentially. Just, you can't control all the circumstances. There were some crashes that couldn't really be avoided. Down the backstretch, I was hopping up to I didn't realize it was Justin. I was hopping up to make sure Sacco didn't go a lap down. And then I realized it's Justin, so we checked up together. And then Sacco didn't realize it was Justin either, so he jumped up the block, and that did not end well. But aside from that, it was really cool getting to work with those guys. Just Sacco had absolutely no luck after that, and honestly, neither did Justin, and a lot of the other guys. So, but it was cool. Andrew there blew up 100 yards from the line, so. Definitely sucks to not get second there. He had that basically on lock, but big thank you to him and to Justin Michael, Nick Sacco, Pete Polini, Kieran and Church, all those guys for working with us in this race. Made a huge difference. Everybody played that smart. So
yes, indeed. today. Real quickly, you mentioned hoping they'll go for the full championship. Next race reported from Race Control is Michigan. Your thoughts on there?
Well, ironically, I might actually be in Michigan for Michigan, so we'll see if I'm actually there. Hopefully, I can, get a flight on Thursday and catch a flight back on Saturday. But there's no guarantees, so. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it'll be the following week I go. I don't know. I gotta figure it out. But yeah, hopefully I get to show up. Looking forward to it if I get to race it. That's definitely a track that I like. So, and it makes a huge difference. With the style of racing and the Cup car not being completely up to chance. Definitely, I think we have a chance to be able to separate there.
All right. Thank the majority of your sponsors. Anything else you'd like to note for today's race?
Yeah, I got to thank Smithfield, 101 CBD, SimSeats, Strickland Hardy, Bradley Mechanical, Linux, all the guys at Elliott Sadler Esports for all their help throughout the Pro Series this season. Made a huge difference. It's just been a blessing to be on such a great team this year, and to have those opportunities and to have made the Coke Series. Just huge thanks to them. Also, shout out to Richmond Raceway Esports for all their support.
Congratulations on the victory today, and what I've been hearing is a very successful weekend. How about 2 victories in these types of races this weekend? Congrats.
Appreciate it, man. It's been one of the best for sure. I'm not a gambling guy, but I've been gambling with the plate tracks this weekend, and it's worked out. So,
congratulations, Garrett Maines, your race winner from Elliott Sadler Esports. Standing by with your 3rd place finisher, Greg Rentz, is with Andrew Navarro. He finished just 0.184 seconds back of your race win and actually blew up at the stripe, Greg.
And Andrew Navarro, driver the number 2, you were coming to the line right in behind Garrett Maines, and the motor just popped there at the very end of this race to fall to 3rd place. But man, up at the front pretty much all day. Another classic battle between you guys. We've seen it several times over the course of the last few months on LSRTV. Another great one. Tell us about it.
Yeah, the last lap was pretty chaotic in turn 1 and 2, and the guy on the outside towards the wall just cleared everyone on the bottom, and I guess he was trying to block the bottom and then came back up to the top, and then there was a huge crash, and then I was trying to push Garrett up forward so Justin could get behind us, and then apparently I wasn't paying attention, and I just looked at the replay. I think the highest I got was 290 on temperature, and I didn't think it would blow up, so I got off, and then when I blocked Parsons in turn 3 and 4, when I got back to Garrett's bumper, it just killed my car.
Andrew, tell us about trying to make your way to the front, because Talladega, we see 2 separate strategies. We see run at the front, and we see hang out at the back and wait for your time to go. You were clearly on A. You were going for it right from the get-go. I think the lowest we saw you was 6th or 7th throughout the course of the day, not counting pit stop cycles. So just tell us about running at Talladega in the Cup cars for 80 laps on a half tank of fuel. Tell us about the strategy that you brought to this race and why you decided to just run up front all day.
I wanted to run up front more just because, if you're the guy at the front, there's less chance, less people. You got to worry more about stuff like getting hit, getting pushed by the pusher and stuff. So I just wanted to be at the front because the back was just everybody. And when they crash at Talladega, man, you just got to find the open hole and try to go for it. So at the front, there's less chance of it because there's, of course, less cars at the front. So, yeah, that's basically what my plan was. And then I made a race through. I think I joined with Garrett and Justin and Sacco. And then I brought some of the guys that I was running with into their chat, so we kind of formed a plan on that.
Well, Andrew, we talked about it with Garrett a little bit. Next up is Michigan, a track that, because of this aero package, almost races kind of similar to Talladega nowadays. It almost treats or acts like a plate race. Are you excited for Talladega?
Yeah, I'm excited for Michigan. Yeah, I don't think it's in the Cup car, is it?
I think it's in the truck.
Yeah, it's in the truck. Well, I'm excited if it's in the truck because I currently have the C Open record there, so I'm very excited if it's in the truck at Michigan because I love that track combo with the car or truck.
All right, well, Andrew, a third place here today after having the engine pop coming to the checker, but it's still a podium and another chance for you to thank your sponsors.
Yeah, I want to thank 7Cs, B-Leaf, Phantom GFX, CGE, Engineering. Yeah.
Third place, Andrew Navarro. Congratulations.
Like to thank Andrew and Garrett Maines for taking the time to speak with us. And real quickly, Greg, your thoughts then on this race and progressing over to Michigan for the next one.
Now, when we head to Michigan, it's got to be an entirely different mindset because it's in the truck. Totally different than the Cup Series. This series, they're racing trucks and Cup cars, alternating back and forth. So everything that they learned here today at Talladega with this wild, wild race that was so much fun to watch, now they got to throw that out the window because now it is go out and get ready for a truck race at Michigan. We've done a couple of them on LSRTV over the last few months, so we kind of have a general idea of what to expect. Looking forward to seeing another great show with these guys. Sunday mornings in January just got really fun because they're coming to you every Sunday morning here in January throughout the course of the month. So if you're looking for something to do here early in the morning on Sunday, look no further than LSR TV. We're going to Michigan next week.
Yep. Yes, indeed. It's been an eventful one, to say the very least. We'd like to thank you for tuning in for today's exciting season opener for Straight Cash Money, the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. It's time to say goodbye, though. We'd like to congratulate Garrett Maines on today's victory and coming away with the $50 top prize for today. For my broadcast partner and Greg Rensford, director, and BJ Duvall, I'm Justin Brent saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your day. You've been watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR